Welcome to this episode of Why They Ran. Today I'm going to be interviewing Representative Jon Koznick from the Minnesota House. I'm going to be asking questions about what he's passionate about, what issues he's trying to solve in our communities, and of course, why he ran. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you guys at the end. I just wanted to thank you for coming on the show today. I'm glad you could join us and, taking the time out of your day to come here with us.
Well, happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation, and happy to have the little tour up at the Capitol here, and welcome your viewers, and hopefully it's informative.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've served since 2015, but your path began long before that. Was there a specific moment, like either personal or political, that you knew that you wanted to serve and run for public office?
Well, a lot of people might not know, but I wasn't born in the United States. I was actually adopted when I was 5 or 6 years old, and I was born in Colombia, South America. And so when I was adopted, I always have understood that it's a privilege to be in this country and the thriving democracy that we have. And so I've always appreciated and kind of paid attention to current events and that. I grew up in a family that watched the news. We always had it on before dinner, 6 o'clock news type stuff. And my dad was pretty engaged and followed current events. And so I always took an interest in it as well. But because of that background, I understood early on that it's important to be engaged in your community, not necessarily as an elected official in the state legislature, but it's important to be involved, I believe, whether it's just in your neighborhood and organizing people and getting to know your neighbors, or being on a church board or a volunteer soccer coach, being in your chamber of commerce if you're a business owner, which I was. I was on the Downtown Lakeville Business Association when I had my business in downtown Lakeville. And so I've always thought it was important to be part of the community and make it stronger and better, rather than just complaining and being frustrated by things that you think can be done better. And so I always tried to be involved, and that's kind of what led to my elected career.
Yeah. And you said you were adopted from Colombia and raised in Minnesota. And, do you think that largely changes the way, that your public identity and, your sense of leadership and public policy, or?
Well, it's been something that's innate to me of why I think it's important to provide public service. And like I said, it can be a variety of different ways. It doesn't have to be elected office. It was just because I was engaged in the community, in the Lakeville community. I had my business for 11 years in the chamber, in the Rotary, active in my church, All Saints. So I've always thought it was important, and it does formulate the purpose of and sense of purpose of why I think it's important to be engaged here and put myself out there as an elected official and continue to serve and make Minnesota better, and in turn help the local community in the Lakeville area better as well through my service.
Yeah. And you said you were in business before going into public office. Do you think that experience changed the way that you look at public office, or sort of drove what you do with your public office?
Yes, everybody comes from a different background, different experiences here in the legislature. I think it's very important to my service and the way I approach the job from a business perspective of, creating an action plan, following through with it, determining what the problem is and what the best solutions are, and then try to implement that best solution. This place does not run like a business necessarily. It's a bunch of individuals trying to come to agreement. So it's a little bit different than you have a meeting with the boss, and the boss likes your idea, doesn't like your idea, and then you do what the boss says. In our case, it's the people that elect us are the boss, and we try to listen and learn and make choices that best represent the people that have elected you. And the title is state representative, do what's best for the state of Minnesota, but in addition to the district that we represent.
And then a lot of your work, like Made Minnesota and the rail facility near Lakeville, focuses on local economic growth. And you kind of just touched on it, being like a state representative. But do you think that you are more focused on like helping your individual
Our constituencies in the
constituents, I'm sorry,
district.
or the general state of Minnesota? Which one do you kind of view as more important?
Well, a lot of the bills that I introduce, or that anybody would introduce, are sometimes specific to your district that you represent, whether it's Lakeville or Credit River or Elko, Newmarket, or the townships that I represent. And there are a number of that. I was proud to obtain state funding to match federal funding for the interchange at County Road 50 and I-35. Or you mentioned the Made in Minnesota manufacturing program. That's a statewide program. I know that there's been businesses in Lakeville Industrial Park that have benefited from that.
Yeah.
So I've seen firsthand how important and effective that program is, but that's a statewide program. So one example is a statewide program. One's a very specific road transportation, a very large one that I'm very proud of, that we will make life easier for drivers in the I-35 corridor and especially in Lakeville. So you juggle both, but
Yeah.
a lot of times I'm voting on things that might not be specific to the district that we represent, but it's a statewide policy that does affect all of us.
Yeah.
So there's a balance there.
And then you championed a unique equine therapy program for first responders. And what made that issue stand out to you, especially coming from mainly public transportation and all that sort of stuff? Was there a constituent story, or was it just like a personal?
Thanks for noticing. The equine mental health therapy program. I had a constituent here in Lakeville, and he was involved in horse racing and the operations and stuff at Canterbury Park, which is nearby. But people sometimes don't realize that microeconomic factor that a facility like Canterbury Park has in the region.
Yeah.
Not just horse breeding and horse riding and training and the jockeys, but it spurs the economy for hotels, travel, entertainment, jobs out at Canterbury, the equine care and feeding and products. And so there's it's a larger segment of the economy that is important in our area.
Yeah.
But it was listening to a constituent that invited me out to Canterbury and gave me a little tour about how Canterbury operates. But on the backside of Canterbury, just a charitable thing that the owners at Canterbury provide some space for mental health therapy.
Yeah.
It's experiential mental health therapy. So predominantly for military, first responders, police, fire, EMS, paramedics, and others. But so we started a pilot program because there were so many early retirements in police work in the public safety realm, and a lot of the trauma from just their day in and day out jobs.
Yeah.
The trauma that they face, murder, shootings, just tragic domestic abuse, and all that kind of stuff that our first responders proudly serve and take on every day. It builds up in them from a mental health standpoint, but they don't always seek the therapy that is helpful for them.
Yeah.
To keep them mentally healthy and strong. So what they do at Canterbury Park with the Abages therapy is they have trained mental health therapists that work with retired racehorses, horses that are no longer actively racing, but they're very high strung and very intuitive horses. And so what they do is they come out and they do therapy sessions in a horse ring with these horses, and it just kind of has a unique ability to break down some of the barriers that our first responders might naturally have, or many of us would naturally have, to open up about things that they've seen and problems that they're having. And so it's proven very successful, and we were able to pass. We did the pilot program a couple of years ago, and we provided some additional funding because we tracked the results of that, and we know that it helped a lot of our first responders stay healthy, but also stay in the line of duty, because we're having a shortage of first responders and police. And so it's been a successful program and very helpful to our first responders, and proud to support that. And that's for first responders across the state.
Yeah. seems like a great addition to Minnesota and helping those people out who
Right.
need it.
Yep. And we did that through some Department of Economic and Employment dollars that were already in the system.
Yeah.
And so important use of those dollars.
So talking about, the taxes system and the money, you've consistently supported small businesses and pushed back on tax increases. What drives your economic worldview, and was it shaped more by personal experience or local community concerns?
I'd say a little bit of both. Having been a small business owner myself, I understand the burdens
Yeah.
of just operating a business and trying to make your widget, whatever that might be, whether it's bakery. In my case, it was mortgage lending. Could be some kind of manufacturing. There's a lot of regulations that go into operating your business, and really business owners just want to make their product the best they can make it and provide it in as competitive a way as they can. And so the more regulations that they have on there, including taxes, it just gets to be more and more burdensome. And so doing research, we know that we're one of the highest tax states in the country.
Yeah.
And that makes it very difficult for small business owners. Sometimes when you get the larger businesses, they have competitive advantages to absorb some of that stuff and then pass it on to consumers. But families, work really hard, especially in our district. We have a lot of moms and dads, two-income families that are working, 60 hours a week to provide for their families, pay their property taxes, their mortgage, save for their kids' education, and just provide for life. And so when we add more taxes onto that, it makes people work harder and harder. And so I think it's important from a state perspective to recognize that our revenues continue to grow. And so we don't need to continue to raise taxes. We just need to reprioritize our spending to make sure it's appropriate and really do the core functions of government, roads, education, public safety, provide a base safety net for those that can't provide for themselves. Do those core things well instead of growing and expanding government in areas that the private sector might be able to handle, or the public sector actually can't afford.
Yeah. And then shifting a little bit more into, leadership and long-term vision, as chair of the House of Transportation, how do you view your leadership role differently from when you were first elected? And has that changed your why at all?
The role has changed when you run a committee, and we're fortunate that we work really hard to understand policy, but also to get elected and to campaign. Mm-hmm. They're two separate skill sets, and the reason we campaign hard and to make sure that we win the argument and win the support of the voters is so that we can implement policy that is best, that we feel is best, reflective of the voters in the state of Minnesota. And so the policy side and the campaign side are different, but once you're in leadership, you're no longer campaigning, and you have to help set an agenda and look at the bills that you think have a reasonable chance of passing, use the time effectively, and also bills that will benefit Minnesotans the most. And so that's what I've tried to do as a leader, Republican transportation chair. I've told my committee that I want to stick to the merits of the bills in front of us, and not turn it into a debate on broader issues. And I appreciate that my committee has followed that lead, and so that we bring down the partisanship during committee. It was difficult in a 67-67 tied legislature. That didn't always happen across the board, and it was unfortunate because it just kind of wastes time and creates animosity. And so it was much more difficult to operate in a 67-67 tie, but I was honored to be able to provide leadership from my chairmanship and on the House floor, and we were able to get the work done for Minnesotans. But it was a lot harder than I expected, and I think a lot harder than most Minnesotans realized.
Yeah. And you sort of talked about keeping sort of larger issues separate from specific committee issues. You've taken stances like religious liberty and police funding. How do you decide when to take on a more idealistically charged issue versus sticking to district-specific work?
There is room to do both. Obviously, we all come with certain ideologies and visions and thoughts about how government should operate and where we should make improvements and prioritize. Um, I've never made it a secret in my campaigns. I am a conservative, a fiscal conservative, but I'm also reasonable and try to uh, be realistic about what can get done and what the priorities should be and what the priorities of the district are.
Mm-hmm.
And so, despite my personal opinions on something, if I don't think it's gonna be particularly helpful or productive, I might. I've chosen to focus on things that I can get done,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been a successful recipe for me thus
Yeah,
far.
that makes a lot of sense. What part of your job do you think best reflects the reason you first ran for office? And is it passing legislation, helping constituents, or shaping long-term policy in Minnesota?
Well, we have some staff, and I've been blessed last couple of years to have some incredible staff that have helped me do some constituent outreach. And when calls come in and people have an issue with a state agency or getting a health inspection for their restaurant or something like that,
Yeah.
they've been my staff has helped me to be very responsive and proud of that constituent work end of the job. Um, but introducing legislation and being a leader here in the House chamber for our caucus and the chamber um, is equally gratifying.
Yeah.
Of why I continue to serve. Just recently, sometimes we forget that the impact that we may have on constituents back home. A former constituent in the Senate district. I don't know that he was ever actually a direct constituent of mine.
Yeah.
But somebody that took the time to invite me to their 85th birthday just last Sunday.
Oh, wow.
And, I've known the gentleman for a number of years. He's been a supporter, but I didn't think he obviously has an interest in politics, but
Yeah.
The fact that he appreciated the work I do and honored me enough to invite him to his smaller family and friends birthday party was quite an honor, and I was honored to be able to take the time and go to his birthday party, or it could be a graduation party that I get invited to, or a number of different events. But it reminds me of the honor it is to serve,
Mm-hmm.
and also the impact that we have on people and the appreciation that they have. And frankly, we just finished Panaprog not too long ago. Yep. And I'm always out there, for the whole week and talking to people. But it's always, especially in this current political environment, very gratifying the show of support and people that actually took the time to thank me for the work that I do. And we
Mm-hmm.
might not agree on everything.
Yeah.
And actually, I had a lady come over and talk to me, and she's a Democrat, and I've known her for a while, but had a great conversation with her about the service that we do, and she expressed her appreciation. So that keeps me going.
Keeps you going. Yeah, and then is there a legislative achievement that you think best represents your reason for serving? Like something that made you think, like, this is why I do what I do?
There's a number of things that I've been able to do in the relatively short time. I mean, we're part-time legislature. We're only here for about 5 or 6 months a year, but we continue to do work throughout the year. Getting the $40 million of state funding for the Interstate 35 and County Road 50, County Road 5 interchange will be one of the largest things I've been able to do directly for the district. Mm-hmm. But also have done some work to help the new police station regional training facility get funded. We were able to get $7 million for that. We were able to get $7 million for the rail storage facility a couple of years ago. That's still in process. So the city of Lakeville better tie that one up soon. But those are direct things that we've done. But just continuing to help make our state government function better and meet the needs of Minnesotans across the state is something we try to do every day. And we still have a lot of work to do, but just generally in a lot of the legislation, providing additional education funding, is a big thing that I think is one of the main core functions of government. Um, sometimes it's the things that we defeat
Yeah.
too, and prevent from happening. A number of large tax increases that are always at the table and continuing to help families meet their own needs rather than families working harder to meet the needs of government.
Yeah.
And so, in a general sense, a lot of that stuff more broadly has been always gratifying to be at the table and providing a voice for constituents throughout the Lakeville area.
Yeah. Just being able to serve the public and,
Mm-hmm.
and help them out. And then sort of shifting to like the future and just sort of reflections on your career. You've now served multiple terms, been in the office for 10 years. What keeps you going? Has your original motivation evolved into something else, like from when you originally ran? Or
Well, like I said earlier, we campaign really hard to provide to bring the values that Minnesotans or people in the district, Lakeville area, fiscal conservative values, to have a seat at the table here
yeah,
at the legislature. Sometimes that's been missing in the more recent sessions, but now we have a 67-67 tie, and to be able to have provide that voice in effective manner. If you're just in the minority, sometimes that gets overshadowed, and you still provide that voice. But now having a seat at the table and saying, "Hey, well, we're taxed enough here in Minnesota. Government's grown by 40%.
yeah,
We need to rail it in,
mm-hmm.
rein it in, and we also have a looming deficit, which is something unique in my legislative career, that we actually have to reprioritize the resources we have to make sure we're meeting the needs of Minnesotans. And so I think uh, having a seat at the table and being that voice of a fiscal conservative is why we continue to run. And one of the things that I think taxpayers and families in the district expect that common sense to be voiced here and advocated for on their behalf.
Yeah. And then sort of on the opposite side of the same coin, are there moments where you've maybe doubted like your why or what was able to bring you back stronger than before?
Well, a couple of years ago, we had Democrats had complete control of state government.
Mm-hmm.
They controlled the House chamber, the Senate chamber, the governor's office. They controlled the Supreme Court,
mm-hmm.
and so unfettered access to anything that they wanted to do. We had a $20 billion surplus, and it was all spent.
Yeah.
Government grew astronomically, and now we're unfortunately now we're brought in to help clean up clean up after the party.
Yeah.
And we have a looming $6 billion deficit
mm-hmm.
in the next biennium. This session, we cut that in half.
Mm-hmm.
And so when there was a deep trifecta like that, it was very difficult, and there were limited political maneuvers that we could do,
yeah.
limited power that we could exert. We were only able to slow it down, and that was very difficult, from a feel like you're actually accomplishing anything.
Yeah, hard to see the difference that you're trying to make.
Because we were largely irrelevant, other than we were in the committee rooms trying to be the voice of opposition, and sometimes we were more effective. But at the end of the day, they were able to pass a lot of their agenda that many in our district disagree with.
Mm-hmm.
And so it felt a little, it was very challenging, and we felt a little ineffective, but we continued to fight for the values that I was elected for.
Yeah.
And, now we've got some seniority and are able to elevate those values for the people that we represent. And it's good to have a seat at the table and have a more balanced role in government. And I think it serves Minnesotans better.
Yeah, make more of an impact, all that sort of stuff. So if a young person came from Lakeville tomorrow and you're thinking about running for office, what part of your journey would you want them to understand first, and like what sort of advice would you have for them?
I would say, as I opened the interview, that you can serve your community in a variety of ways.
Mm-hmm.
I am very honored to have an elected position for our community and to represent people here in this chamber. And so there's kind of a nostalgia or a uniqueness of being elected office here, but I encourage young people and anyone else, just get involved in your community first.
Mm-hmm.
Get to know your neighbors. If you like soccer, help the soccer team, Lakeville soccer or whatever. Get involved in your church or things that you're passionate about, and you can make an impact that way.
Yeah.
Also, for young people, get some actual as much experience in private sector and some kind of job, and understand what it is to run a business and for families to provide for themselves,
Yeah.
and understand those challenges, because that will help you to make better decisions here at the legislature. And quite frankly, I see a lot of other legislators that really have like one single issue that has driven them to run for public office, and
Yeah.
they've been successful to get elected here. But I don't know that that's the most well-rounded experience set for the variety of issues that we have to deal with here.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more experience you can get in a broader experience is what I would encourage young people or anybody to get involved with. And, if you can't care about the environment, that's great. But we do a lot more than just something like that.
Yeah.
And those are important issues, but you also you're going to be a better legislator and better represent the totality of your district if you also understand taxation and education and the importance of public safety and what those public servants face on a day-to-day basis, and to be able to support families that are farming or that are running a manufacturing business, some kind of service business, the insurance business, small banking community. All these different things are things that we deal with. And mm-hmm. So if you're a single issue candidate and have a single focus, I don't know that you're best able to represent your district or the state of Minnesota.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see legislators with more broad experience.
Yeah. And then looking forward to the future, is there any like single topic that you're really looking forward to trying to make a change in, or is it just generally helping your constituents overall?
Well, I continue to lead and be a leader in the transportation field. That's been my assignment as the chair of the transportation committee. I'll continue to spend most of my time there because that is my assignment. But yeah. I would like to see the state of Minnesota rein in their spending and lower the tax burden on families and businesses, because I think individual families and individuals will thrive more successfully, mm-hmm. and make better choices that meet their needs with their own dollars, instead of government growing larger and larger and putting more demands and restrictions and regulations on families and businesses. And we'll be a healthier state if we can do that. So generally lower the tax burden on Minnesotans, provide more opportunity for families and individuals that way. As kind of more of an overarching. And I think the fact that we have a deficit looming, mm-hmm. We're going to have to lower some of the spending and reprioritize on the core functions of government, and that will serve Minnesotans best.
Yep. And so that's all the questions that I had for you. Just before we end off the interview, is there anything that you want to tell, constituents, or just any general message for young people maybe looking forward to politics or just looking to get involved more in the future?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you reaching out to me, especially as a young person. But if you are interested in public service or government, and there's a variety of jobs, and you can have a good career and not just be an elected official. But if you're interested in that, the first step is, and it may seem a little overwhelming, so I congratulate you for reaching out. But any other young person or constituent, we're pretty accessible. You can mm-hmm. find my email via Google pretty easy. And happy to have conversations, but also just get involved. We're happy to have people involved in our campaigns, I've had job shadows a number of times, and people just kind of come shadow us at the Capitol and committee meetings and that as much as we can. With security, that might change a little bit, but it's a lot easier to get involved, and it is intimidating, but it doesn't need to be. Just simply pick up the phone, send an email, and we'll try to help people out and demystify the process, and love to have people involved, especially young people. I think it's important for a good, strong community and a good, strong state. And of course, it's great for democracy. That's what we're based on, is having engaged, informed citizenry involved in their government.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and good luck.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. If you guys have any representatives or questions that you'd like us to ask people that we interview in the future, make sure to leave them in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date with our content, and I'll see you guys on the next interview.